Voila. Okay, we're in business. Yeah, well, I'm sad that we are not together, because then you can always, you know, fake yourself around these situations. Anyway, I'm trying. What's Peach saying?
Oh, I was sending you the presentation.
Ah, okay, I got it, I think.
Okay.
I already got it, but now I can't see myself, in which I will try to share my screen. The host has spotlighted you. How do I make myself bigger so that I can share my screen? Anybody knows? Share. There we go. No. Resume share. There you go, I think. No? What is this? Do you see my slideshow now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Great. Okay, so we're in week 3, and I have already reminded myself to record. So far, so good. What I wanted to do is actually thank you all for the wonderful critical response papers that you've made. I was just telling some of you that reading them, I realize how confined you are and how much more serious or austere this situation is for you than it is for young people here in my neighborhood or in my country. Luckily, we have been very cautious in the beginning. Of course, we're a much smaller population. We're only like 6 million people. So, but we also started very early on to take this situation seriously. So we have now a very decreasing curve in mortalities. So we are around 400 dead, which also means, as I think I've already told you, that we have opened up the schools, the preschool. Some of the industry has gone back to producing in shifts and, you know, apart, and everybody's sitting very awkwardly in the offices, but still. And also the weather has been nice. So this is what Copenhagen looked like yesterday. And for those of you who've already been to Copenhagen, I mean, I'm sure you know how wonderful the city is. And I was talking to Peach the other day about now everything is green, and it's wonderful. And as you can see, a lot of young people are out, which has created a new problem for the authorities. And they've said that if you can't handle this, we will shut all of this down. So what they've done this evening is they have put out a list of hotspots in Copenhagen where people normally go, and they will fine you, and they will shut down these places if you cannot control not sitting too close. But anyway, we're in the streets. I can go for walks with or without my dog. My daughter walks around and buys coffee in the little coffee shops and walk with her friends, and they can sit and talk. So I really wish that your situation would be the same sometime soon. I understand you have some discussions between the governors and the president, and I won't go into that, but since this is a recorded meeting. But I think, yeah, I feel sorry for you, and let's hope everything is working out somehow. So I asked you to see Missrepresentation and The Mask You Live In, and I was really surprised that The Mask You Live In was not available in the US Netflix version, because I think that movie actually, more than anything, shows how masculinity also is is a problem. Some of you have already discussed toxic masculinity and the male gaze in your reports, and we'll get back to that in the discussion. But I hope you enjoyed the films. I mean, of course, they are more of an American perspective than they are of a Scandinavian, if you wish. But I think for me, actually, it was really interesting when I saw it the first time, and I hope you enjoyed it too. So what I wanted you to do was, of course, discuss in your groups and give us your main takeaways and include some examples. Oops. Ooh. What happened? Yeah, well, that's me. That's me screwing everything up. Excuse my language. There you go. You should discuss your takeaways and include some examples, and then, yeah, ask questions to the group. So I will find the first group's presentation, which is Colin, Margaret, and Jessica. And then I started, and then you can go ahead, right?
Okay, I'm gonna go into the other room and sit with Colin while we present.
Okay. Okay, good. So I will shut this down. Screen sharing is stopped. Yeah. Okay, and then again. Share screen. Boom. I practiced this, so I know it works. You just need to find it. And this would be in Finder. There we go. Is this the group one? Kendall, Alice, Alicia? Hello? You should unmute your mic.
Yes, I believe, are we not group 2?
Yeah, maybe you are, because I have, even though I prepared it, I might have. Let me see if this one's better, right?
I don't see anything pulled up on my screen.
Yeah, I can't either.
Okay. I love this.
We can also share our screen and pull ours up because I think we have it, right?
Yeah, why don't you? Because then I can, you know, mess around here on my own. I think it's better. Yeah.
Yeah, just click on that and then go back. Share screen. Oh, it says the host has disabled screen sharing.
That's me. Okay, which one is presenting now? It's this one, right? It's
yeah, I think that's ours.
It's
yeah,
it,
Colin and yeah, okay. Somehow, someday I will be good at this, but not today, it seems. I'm so sorry for this. I hope that you are not too annoyed.
It happens.
Yeah, it does. It does. I was. Tell me when it's there.
Oh my gosh, it's done.
Huh?
Sorry, no, it's pouring rain. It was
Okay.
good.
I have been so, you know, conscious that we have to do this, so that I was really trying to stop share, and then I say share, and then I say this one, and then I say share, and it's there.
We can see it now.
Wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, guys, take it away.
I can go ahead and start. So go to the next slide. Yeah, so first we'll talk about misrepresentation. Some of our key takeaways was we thought it was really well done. The way they incorporated male and female perspectives, we thought added to the framework and the strength of it, in that it would apply to a broader audience. It wouldn't just resonate with the female viewers, but male viewers could also identify with the message because they were involving men in the conversation, which we thought was really good for their goal. The other thing we talked about was that, right, the politics. So a lot of times feminism is, and this is clearly like pro-feminist, feminism is conflated to also represent a liberal political ideology. And this movie, we thought, did a good job removing the politics from the discussion and making it much more oriented towards a unified objective of empowering women, rather than making it seem as a bipartisan method. You know, instead of saying, you know, this is how we do it, this is how they do it, it was, this is how everyone should do it. So we thought that was a great way of getting the message across. For misrepresentation, we talked a lot about, in the movie, they talked a lot about how some men perceive feminism as an opposition to the power and dignity of men, and we're just not really sure where that comes from. And has that ever been true? And is that why that came from? You know, are there instances of empowering women, you know, weakening men's role in society, and that's where it comes from? Or is it truly, you know, in a figment of imagination? And the other question we wanted to talk about was, at the end of the movie, they talk about suggestions for incorporating, you know, incorporating ideas to limit sexism and increase empowerment of women and girls in a very easy day-to-day way, the conversations you can have and the small actions you can do, and just what that would look like for different people in this class, you know, how people can actually act on them.
Great. Do you want the next slide, or do you want to? Yeah.
Do you want to do the remarks part?
Yeah. Okay, so basically when we were watching the movie, we just kind of like looked at it in a way that, like, as a kid, you're kind of brought up in a certain way to be like a man, not to like show any emotion and to keep like your masculine mask on, if you will. And this is kind of like put forth by society and parents, that you have to be tough, strong, and emotionless. And the documentary follows like young boys as they grow up and become older, like through their developing years, and like how they think you should be a man, and like what manning up means, and how it sort of like contributes to like a dated idea in a sense.
Okay, so the issues that it mainly focused on a lot of issues, but I felt like these were the like most overarching and most important ones. Also kind of similar to what Jess was saying with the last questions, these were kind of like specific areas that we could focus on as people just in society interacting with each other and not trying to reinforce these stereotypes, making sure to be conscious of the issues that young men and boys are facing and that society is pushing on them. So pressure to ignore emotions and to be tough. This is like kind of the premise of the whole thing, is just to man up. What does that mean? What does it mean to be a man? Why does it, being a man, mean no emotions? Why does it mean hyperaggression, stuff like that? And then devaluation of authentic friendships between boys and men. And I feel like this is really prevalent. You can see in all sorts of, like, I was watching a reality TV show last night, and I think two of the guys interacted, and it was one of the most, like, one of them clearly needed emotional support, and it was just a very shallow, like, you're fine, dude, you're fine, just, you're fine, it'll be fine, whatever. That type of thing, where it's like men and boys really do need the support from each other. And this is what this movie's focusing on, is taking the masks off and opening up to each other. And then the objectifying, degrading women, or anything seen as feminine, that's like the inverse, is like saying, only valuing things that are masculine, and anything that's seen as feminine is bad, avoided. Like close intimate relationships between girls those are feminine, and that can't be transferred to a male and male friendship. And then violence as main form of conflict resolution. I feel like we're all quite familiar with this. It talked about the school shootings and how a lot of the perpetrators were young men who were raised in a society who pushes these conflict resolution as violence onto them. And then discussion questions.
Okay. And then sort of, because we never really made it to Denmark, we were wondering if like the ideas and values of masculinity are similar to those in the United States. And then for the second one, we're wondering how, like, what are good methods and ways to help someone who is struggling with the societal expectations of their masculine identity. So that's basically all we had for the second documentary.
Wonderful. Thank you. So do we want to take the questions for the misrepresentation first?
Sure.
Yeah. Let me see. So do you want me to share the screen so you can all see the questions before, and then, because then I can't see who's talking, then you just have to, hop in. I'm sorry about that. It's a very, yeah. Okay. Empowerment of women involves removing power from men. What's the basis of this argument? Are there examples of this being true? Anybody want to contribute? Hello?
How do you raise your hand again?
I just think you should, because I can't see. If I have the screen, the slideshow, I cannot see you. So just, go ahead and talk. And then if there's a problem, then we can always go back to raising hands.
Well, personally, I felt for that question, I mean, should I answer it since I presented on it?
Yes.
Okay. I feel like I've had conversations where I'm talking to mostly men, trying to convince them that feminism is like a viable and good thing. It's a powerful a good thing to be considered a feminist, and it's not. Feminism isn't like hating males; it's supporting and empowering women. And I think it's more focused, for me at least. My version of being a feminist is bringing women up, empowering them, giving them opportunities to grow and have an equal contribution to society, not tearing men down necessarily, but like if you look at top 500 companies that are run by anyone, if there's a certain amount that are male and we want more female representation, does that mean that in turn less males are going to be the tops of these companies, or any sort of, does it mean that it has to move one gender down to help the other? And that's kind of an area that I've struggled to like argue against other people, that there just need to be more companies so more women can run them, or how does that, how do we not bring another gender down by bringing another up and then run into a similar issue? So I don't really have an answer, I guess.
No, but it's a matter, I mean, here we always hear the argument, we recruit from qualifications. So the joke here is that the minute you start also recruiting unqualified females, then it's gender equality, because some of the recruitment takes place in circles where you don't even know there's a job. So I think what we really need to discuss also, or realize, is that by joining forces, we actually get better. I mean, two different points of views are better than one point of view. Not that I'm saying that every man has the same point of view. It's just, the diversity of it. Anybody want to contribute?
I read in an article that, I don't know if it's completely true, but that Denmark was like the least feminist country on earth. What do you think about that?
Well, as I think I've already told you, all our legislation is in place, but I think somehow the word feminist provokes people. So I think a lot of men, and they certainly do, a lot of Danish men think that they are really trying, and they are good at, taking care of the kids, cooking dinner and all this. So they are sort of, They sort of feel, I think, a little irritated by the fact that we can still find problems. Because they are all trying, and everybody, each person is trying. There are very few very traditional marriages in Denmark where, you know, the man is a breadwinner and the woman is at home, is a stay-at-home mom. In fact, there was a discussion some years ago that it was very, very disturbing for feminists that actually some women chose to stay at home. But I mean, that's a free choice also. So we are not an unequal society. We're in fact a very equal society, but feminism has yet to have its breakthrough, I think. Because everybody says, yeah, some men then argue, oh, why is that as opposite to masculinity? And it's not, or masculinism. And I think also this is the big challenge for the feminist movement, is that they have not managed to explain what feminism is, because we say that it would be, you know, liberating for everybody, but I don't think the feminist has actually, you know, succeeded in this.
So it's more just like a lack of knowledge then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just lack of that term. Maybe there's still, like, having all of the actions behind the term feminism, but not using the term the same way.
Exactly. There was another question you want, I think was addressed to me, was are American values of masculinity that are expressed similar to those of Denmark? Not to that extent, I would say, no. We have a much larger scope of what's actually acceptable. Like, for instance, when, sorry to refer to that, but when the crown prince got married to his wife, he was crying in church. And I was at that time boss of the radio news in Denmark, and I got a call from the BBC saying, "Ooh, is your crown prince weak?" And I said, "Well, actually, for me and for women in Denmark, it's a sign that you're an emotional person, and that's for us a good sign that you actually are in contact with your emotions, that you can shed a tear." So I think we don't have the same expectations, at least not in the environment of the educated. Some environments, I'm sure there are more expectations into that area. So I want to give the word to the next group because we are running out of time now. So if it's okay with you, I will give. Is this a second group, Savannah? Would you recognize yourself in this number? Second group, Savannah, Abby, and Riley. Hello?
Yes, that's
okay.
us.
Perfect. Take it away.
I can't see it on my screen. I don't know if other people can.
Can other
Yeah,
people
I can't see anything.
It's still on your files folder. So I think if there's some way to select the presentation.
Is there, you can't see it at all? No, none of you?
I see your files folder instead.
Okay. Better?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Can we go to the next slide? Sorry.
Yeah. Sure.
So, from Missrepresentation, the first film, we said that the main takeaway for us was just that the media industry in America holds the biggest responsibility for perpetrating and encouraging sexism against women as a norm in major institutions in everyday life. So the two main examples that I kind of highlighted from this part were, as we talked about before in one of the readings, the Bechdel test, which, if people are unfamiliar, it's like a measure of representation of women within films. So it asks whether a work features at least two named women who talk to each other about something other than a man. And as of right now, on the Bechdel test website, they have over 8,000 movies in their database, and only 57.6% of them pass that test that I just described.
Mm-hmm.
And then a quote from the film that I thought kind of spoke to this was Caroline Heldman said, mainstream movies are generally stories of men's lives, and then we have this subgenre called chick flicks, which when you look at them a little more closely, you realize that they generally revolve around men's lives too. So I think that just kind of spoke to the fact that, like, even if a movie is supposed to be about a woman, she's usually fixated on a man, so it's not really about her anyway. And then the second point was just those who create the media control the media. And director Catherine Hardwicke said that she's gone for jobs that she's been told flat out to her and her agent that she shouldn't direct it because she's not a man. And then she just kind of thinks about how, like, many female-focused films and series and everything are directed by men rather than women. So why are films about men? Why do they have to be directed by men rather than women? So those were just kind of like the two main things that I saw from the film that I thought were like important to discuss, because I felt like they were really just kind of like general claims that weren't too like political, I guess. Like they said before, like it's not something that's like super leftist saying that like it's just like a main fact. Like most films don't pass the Bechdel test, and most films just revolve around men rather than around women. So another important point is just that the media plays on our anxiety. And then I think one of my other group mates did the question.
I tell you what, I think we should take the questions in the next sessions, because otherwise we don't make it to group 3, and Alden has to go. Alden has to go. Alden?
Yeah.
So
Alden's
it's okay.
right.
Huh?
It's okay. Alden's right. It's okay.
Okay. Sorry. It's just that I really want everybody to do their presentation, then we can discuss afterwards. So this is, yeah.
So the main takeaway from the second film was that we said society puts a lot of pressure on young men at a very early age. And growing up, their idea of masculinity can change or even be challenged at points, and it can affect the way that they feel. But oftentimes it's kind of attributed to the role that media plays and the influence of media. And I thought that the interviews and the clips that were used in this film were really beneficial to getting the main point across. And a few quotes that really stood out to us were, from a young age, we're taught not to express our emotions. So kind of growing up with the idea that you should be suppressing your emotions, and kind of the word taught here is really important, because if a young child is being taught this way, then whoever is teaching them these things kind of believes that as well. And the second quote was, school was a training ground for me to learn how to perform masculinity, to perform to be one of the guys. And this kind of stood out because you shouldn't have to really perform anything. You should just kind of be who you are. And growing up with this idea, it can take long-term effects. And if you learn these things from a young age, it stays with you in your older years.
Yeah. Good points. Very good points.
And then there were a few more points that I think someone else is going to talk about. I don't know if she...
Savannah said that she got kicked out of the class, so she just needs to be accepted back in. She's our third group member.
She got kicked out of the class?
Yeah, she said that it like disconnected and she can't get back in.
Oh, there she is. Savannah, are you there?
Hi.
Hi.
Sorry about that. My Wi-Fi crashed and it kicked me out, and I didn't realize that we'd already started presenting, so I'm sorry about that.
Well, I'm just happy that it's not me sort of messing everything up.
Okay, I don't know what my group has talked about yet or not, but I can jump in wherever.
Yeah, so we're just on the second slide at the examples, and we're on the third point.
Okay, cool. Do you guys want me to take it over, or are you already in the middle of it?
You take
sure,
over.
go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, so the third example, so boys are at much greater risk than girls, and this may be because we don't give them the right support starting at a young age. Basically, what I was trying to get at this is that in the documentary, it talks a lot about how when boys are upset, especially when they're really young, I think they said around the age 12, if they're still crying in public, they're told not to do that and that there's something wrong with them. So I think that starting from a really
excuse me, Savannah, we are being interrupted now. Once we're being kicked off, you all go to the next Zoom code and I'll let you all in again. I'm sorry for this, but just
That's okay.
go on, Savannah, until we're interrupted.
Okay. So yeah, I don't think that young boys are really given the right support or enough support starting when they're really young to actually express their emotions, especially when they're upset about something. And so when they're not given that support system, they feel like as they get older, they just need to keep suppressing it and suppressing it. And that can obviously escalate and lead into other kind of like toxic masculinity behaviors. So yeah, I don't know if someone else wants to go on to the next point.
Yeah, and then some other important points that we had just to include was that the film was actually not nominated for and won a lot of awards. Some of the important awards